Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Anchor Watch. I'm Bobby Jones, your humble host, and I am very honored to have Ambassador Bridget Brink on our show on Anchor Watch. She is running for the United States congressional seat in Michigan's 7th district. And the primary is in how many days, Ambassador?
7 days.
7 days. We are in the home stretch. And for those who do not know this wonderful woman, we're talking about a career of dedicated service, which we'll get into. I think not only dedicated service, but timely service based on what's going on in the world. And we'll get into that. But before we get started, how's the campaign going, Ambassador?
Well, thanks, Commander. It's so great to be with you. Thank you very much for your service to our country. Well, the campaign's going great. I think this is a fight about who is going to stand up to Trump and take on a Washington that works for corporate special interests and leaves the working families of mid-Michigan behind. And the truth is that I'm the only person in this race who has actually stood up to Trump. And I'm going to fight like hell to fight for lowering costs, making healthcare more accessible, and defending our democracy and representing the people of my district. I know this is...
No, go ahead, Ambrose. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think the only way to change what's going on in Washington is to change who we send to Washington. And this is going to be a tough fight, but I'm no stranger to tough fights. I've had to battle with Putin in a war zone. I've had to fight breast cancer, and I've had to stand up to Trump. So I am ready to fight for the people of the 7th Congressional District. And in Congress, I will take that fight right back there and bring it back home with an incredible coalition of supporters across Michigan.
We're going to get into all of that. And I'm glad you brought up your coalition and the priorities. We have it right there for people to see. Can you walk us through what made you come up with these priorities? Because everybody seems to be talking about everything going around the world. And trust me, it's worthy of its time, but it seems like you're talking kitchen tabletop issues.
Exactly. I'm talking about the things that I hear about every single day. We have knocked thousands of doors. We have done over 100 events around our district, met with people in every corner of the district, and these priorities, and you'll notice they're on my website. I have 7 priorities. They are priorities which are the ones that I hear every single day. And they're the ones I believe that we have to laser focus on in order to win seats like mine in these tough purple districts, because we have to pay attention to what the people in our communities are worried about. And it really boils down to these 3 things: costs, healthcare, and our democracy. And it's so important that we focus on these priorities. And I am prepared to do whatever needs to be done to make sure I'm fighting for the people of mid-Michigan every day and beating the current incumbent who is basically following a MAGA agenda and President Trump in every single vote.
It's funny. You mentioned those 3 things there, and I think that's the most basic that Americans want. Let's talk about one of them, healthcare. You've gone through your trials and tribulations when it comes to health. What have you learned about healthcare going through the fight that you've had against cancer?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for raising that, because it's healthcare that I think is really the number one thing that I hear about on the campaign trail, that I've heard about over the last 13 months. And, I myself, as I was campaigning, was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. It was a total shock. And lucky for me, it was caught early. I had surgery, had my cancer removed, but the surgery itself cost $100,000. And that is not even including all the testing before and after. And what I can tell you is that I'm still fighting with my insurance company to get everything paid for. Everyone that I speak to has some kind of nightmare story like this. Either they have had a catastrophe and are in medical debt and can't get out of it, or also, like me, they have a child or a family member that has some kind of chronic condition, whether it's asthma or diabetes or something else. And the cost of the medication is just so high that they have to choose between medication and other important things that they need to purchase for their families. Or they're just afraid because they don't have insurance. And so they're worried that what are they going to do? And what has Tom Barrett, who's the person who's in this seat right now, what has he done over the last year since we've been campaigning. Well, he voted for the big ugly bill, and that takes 25,000 people off of Medicaid in my district alone. He failed to vote to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies. And, voters and friends like mine who are small business owners or people who rely on those subsidies have now found that their health insurance has doubled. So it's a problem for everybody in our district, and we need to have a way forward. I've got a whole plan of what we could do to take steps to actually make healthcare more affordable and accessible. And I believe it is the number one thing we've got to fix right away when Democrats take control of Congress.
Wow, $100,000 not counting testing. That's insanity. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that. So that leads into cost. And I'm loving that you are talking in detail about these issues. The average cost of just living in America now has been something that is significant. What are you seeing in Michigan, which in a lot of respects is the barometer for the rest of the country based on the auto industry and everything you have there? What are you seeing there?
Well, our costs have skyrocketed and everybody feels it, whether it's the cost of groceries, gas, healthcare, or housing. It's all gone up. And why? Well, we can see it with the policies of the Trump administration that are being enabled by the representative that we have currently in mid-Michigan, Tom Barrett. I'll give you a couple of examples. First, the reckless tariffs. Canada is actually Michigan's biggest trading partner. And I have to say, every day we wake up, we have a new set of tariffs against our neighbor and friend, Canada. And just last week, Trump announced a 50% tariff on certain goods from Canada. It's crazy. It's raising the cost for our farmers, for our small businesses, and in the grocery store. And it's something that is unpredictable and is hurting our economy here in Michigan, hurting our pocketbooks. The second thing, the Iran war. So this is a war of choice that I believe was a big mistake to get into in the way in which Trump decided to go headlong into a war without a strategy or an end game or a way to get out. And now we're in this position where 18 service members have been killed, our most precious resource that we have. We also have spent now $37 billion as of this month on that war, and with more to come. And what else has this resulted in? In mid-Michigan, it's resulted in an increase in the price at the pump that's more than $1. So what that means for your average family is they're paying a couple $100 more per month just to fill up the gas tank. And we feel it. In addition to that, the diesel tank or the diesel fuel that trucks need to get our products to the grocery store or things that we need every day, the airline fuel, all of that has also gone up. So it's raised prices in a number of ways, but most noticeably for us at the gas tank. And then finally, I just say the way that Trump has run the economy, it's completely unpredictable. And so what I hear from the average person, what I hear from business people, what I hear from people who are just trying to get by every single day is they don't know what to expect. And this is also putting upward pressure on prices in a way that is hurting everyday families, working families here.
You raise a point right there at the end that I don't think we give enough credit to the chaos. It's the instability. You don't know what the man is going to do, wake up and say. And then you watch Congress back it like it was some planned strategy. It's insanity. You have something also in your priorities that I don't think gets talked about nearly enough. You talk about schools, public schools. I cannot thank you enough as someone who's done a little bit in education now. I cannot thank you enough for bringing this to the forefront. What made you decide to make that a priority?
Well, a couple of things. One, I'm the daughter of a Michigan public school teacher. My mom was a single mom and she was a teacher. So I have to say, I love teachers. I love educators. I have great respect for people who choose that profession and very much appreciate what they do, because really what they're doing is, growing the future leaders of tomorrow and helping them spread their wings and inspiring them. So I'm grateful to teachers. I'm also myself the product of Michigan public schools. And it was Michigan public schools that really gave me my ability to follow my dreams. So I believe that education is the foundation for success for our future generations, for our kids and everybody's kids. And if we aren't competitive in public schools, if we don't have the best public schools, we're going to be hurt as an economy, as a democracy, and as just, having a population that is able to fulfill its potential, follow their dreams, and do what they want to do. I think this is just key. So for me, it's all about education. I'm really proud to be endorsed by the Michigan Education Association. That's our educators. And I'm a big believer in fully funding education. It's about teacher pay, but it's really about even more than that. It's about making sure that schools have the infrastructure that they need, that they have the safety things that they need, that we're giving support to paraprofessionals and the educators, but also those who are supporting the educators, because we need to be able to make sure every child can get a great education, no matter where they're starting from. And we're not doing it. In fact, what President Trump has done is cut education, cut the Department of Education, has made it much harder for local states and local communities to pay for the best possible education, which is what I felt that I got. So also I worked all over the world. So I see and have seen how our educational system is not stacking up.
Yes.
That means we are not going to be competitive in the globalized world. So this is a bigger problem than just a single community. This is us being competitive as a nation and educating people for the economy of the future and the jobs of the future. And that just starts right here in public education. So I'm a big supporter of it. I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that we make sure we fully fund education, because I believe that this is like the foundation of opportunity. And I know it because I had it.
Exactly. And it's so funny, man. I'm not a preacher, but I want to say amen to that, because, I have a daughter that just graduated from college a few months ago, and I will tell people, thank you, but the competitive advantage she got was her first school. We were stationed in Japan. We stuck her out in a Japanese school. She was the only American, one of two Americans in that whole Yochen. She speaks Japanese fluently. She got a competitive advantage foundationally that she would not have gotten in the United States. And it made a huge difference. And you're right. Every last one of our kids should have that same quality caliber education. Another thing I want to mention too, while I have you on here, Ambassador, looking at the chat, we've got people who are resonating with what you're saying, especially the healthcare issue. We have one of our loyal watchers, Arlene, talking about she has no healthcare insurance. She's in medical debt because of it. And, she can't even go to the doctor now because she's afraid of what it costs. And there are others who have jumped on that saying the same thing. This is America. And you're telling me you can't go to the doctor now? This is insane.
It's insane.
It's insane. So I'm glad we started out. Can we bring your principle, your priorities back up? Because here's the thing that blows my mind about what you've done here. The Democrats nationally have gotten hit on not being able to talk about these particular issues, hammering Trump. And don't get me wrong, we're going to get to that. But this right here should be the foundation of the entire Democratic Party. This is what people are worried about. This is what people are having to deal with. And we don't see this type of messaging. So I want to just thank you for saying this, for putting this out there. The fundamental rights and freedoms. We've seen ICE run rampant across that, beating that down. The state near y'all in Minnesota. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're dealing with. So let me lead into that a little bit. What do you think when you see ICE running around damn near like a Gestapo, pulling people over, shooting people? You've been around the world. What does that make you think of?
Well, it makes me think of all the young democracies that I lived and worked in that rose after the fall of communism, because they had some things that were all in common among one another. One is not a free press. Two is a justice system that isn't independent, that's used to go after perceived enemies. And three, security services that were about fighting internal threats, so-called enemies inside, rather than external adversaries. This is what I saw in those countries. This is exactly what is happening right here at home. And to add on to that, it's corruption. Those communist countries were very corrupt. So it's been very hard for them to shed that legacy of corruption. And what are we seeing here in America? We are seeing at the presidential level corruption like we've never seen before. I don't even believe how anyone can buy this idea that you can accept a $400 gift of a plane and that's a good thing. This is a terrible thing.
400 million.
So, 400 million. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did I say million? So I just think this is something where we have to get a grip on all of these things. We have to fight for the America that we know, that's based on our values of freedom, democracy, rule of law, and certain standards and precedents, which are now being broken in ways that fundamentally change what people expect from the government and lower that expectation. We need to hire it. We need to raise it. And I have a reform and restore agenda that's about fighting corruption, stopping stock trading across government, not just in Congress, but in the White House, in the Supreme Court. Also stopping legislators from doing the revolving door into lobbying firms, not accepting gifts over $20, all kinds of things that basically are basic ethics standards that are in place in some parts of our government. But right now, it's all just gone wild. And most importantly to me in this, like being in politics for the first time, is ending the dark money in politics, because this is the other thing. Democrats like to talk a lot about how they hate corporate money in politics. But I have to say, where that's coming in the biggest way is in these dark money, the super PAC money that's coming in. I've got $5 million that's come into my race in favor of one candidate alone. And this is really undermining everybody's vote. And it undermines our ability to have the democracy where people get to vote for the representative that they want. So we got to end Citizens United. And we need politicians, when they say they want to end it, they act in a way that refuses super PAC money and stops the dark money. That's just not happening right now.
Right. Supreme Court has done no favors in that regards.
No.
Let's talk a little bit about international and your background. So you spent 3 decades, over 30 years almost, nearly 3 decades being a diplomat, career diplomat. Why did you resign? I think people need to hear your reason for resigning, when you did, and where you were when you did it.
Well, maybe I'll just take a step back to talk just a second about how I got to where I was. So when I was a young person in my 20s, I knew I wanted to do something in service because my family really values service. And so I decided to join the U.S. Foreign Service, which is our diplomatic corps. I joined it when I was 27 and served for 28 years. I served in the Balkans in the 1990s when we had the wars happening there. I served on President Obama's National Security Council, and I became ambassador twice. I was a career diplomat. And so I was ambassador to Slovakia, and then ultimately I was ambassador to Ukraine. And my whole career, or most of my career, was one that was in support of freedom. Because I joined when I was a young person, and in college, I went abroad to study. And it was 1989, and I was in London, and I saw the fall of the Berlin Wall and the start of freedom in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, in those parts of Europe. And it inspired me very much. And I ended up spending my career in those countries of people who were just yearning to be free. And we had a long time bipartisan effort of creating and supporting a Europe whole, free, and at peace. And I spent most of my career in support of this strategic goal for the United States. A strong Europe is also helpful to the United States. It's our biggest trading partner, and it's our most important security partner. So when I was asked to be our ambassador to Ukraine by President Biden, it was a huge honor for me, because it was the culmination of all those decades of work in the most important diplomatic post, certainly on the continent, but maybe arguably in the world at the time, to try to repel Russia's full-scale invasion. Russia had come in February of 2022 and tried to take over a country of 40 million people in the middle of Europe. The last time we had that happen in Europe, a world war broke out and millions of people died. What were we asked to do, and I was asked to do, which was a great honor, is to lead a civilian team on the ground to stop Russia and to work with the Ukrainians to help them survive. And for 3 years, I did that. We faced thousands of missiles and drones. I grew our embassy to 1,000 people, and we helped Ukraine stay free. They took back territory, kept the energy grid alive, kept the economy alive. When President Trump was elected to office, my first thought was to try to help shape the policy. And I asked my family, my son, I said, Jack, what should I do? I can quit or I can stay and try to shape the policy. I had worked for 5 presidents, so it would be normal for a career officer to do that. And my son said, Mom, you have to stay. And you have to, if not you, who? So I stayed. But it was very clear from the beginning that all Donald Trump wanted to do is make a deal with Putin. And that became very publicly clear when the White House Oval Office meeting happened, and we all saw it on TV. I saw it on TV too. At that same time, my son texted me and he said, Mom, have you reconsidered your decision? And I said, yes, I have reconsidered it. And so within a few weeks, I actually resigned my position and decided I was going to speak out and come home and ultimately run for office. I could not in good conscience carry out a policy which I felt was a mistake of history, which is what I believe abandoning Ukraine was. It's not just about Ukraine. It's about peace and security in Europe. And it's also about stabilizing and supporting our biggest trading partner and most important security partner, and stopping US troops from getting killed in conflicts like that and having to go and fight because Putin has overtaken Ukraine and then is going to go fight a NATO ally like Poland or one of the Baltic states. So that's the reason.
I'm blown away by that big I word, integrity, that you're showing, that you showed by doing this. And I know you're going to gloss over this, but I'm not. I'm pretty sure you're the first female ambassador to be an ambassador in an active war. Like, you were there when ordnance was flying, etc. Pretty sure no one in American history has done that. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's right. In a war
Yeah. Okay.
zone.
So yeah.
Leading a
Okay.
mission
So
in a war zone.
so
Yeah.
yeah, underrated badass, but we're not. I want to highlight that. No, I want to highlight that because we have certain people in the administration, Hegseth, who believe someone like you doesn't have the goods to be there, but you stood your ground. And I need to highlight that because it pisses me off to no end that this man keeps doing this. All that being said, what is your take on how the administration is handling this conflict? I mean, they talked a big game. Trump said day one he was going to have this thing solved. Now we had Zelensky here today. We had Netanyahu here today. This has become a cluster across the board. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think the conflict has escalated because of our withdrawal of support and our withdrawal of, being an advisor and also an entity that can help Ukraine manage and win. So essentially, the conflict is escalated in the fact of there's more conflict happening in Russian territory. The Ukrainians have actually been very successful in their long-range strikes. But also, there have been a number of drone incidents that have happened in NATO countries like Romania recently, because as the conflict has gotten worse, has escalated, we've seen it expand. This is exactly what we were trying to prevent from happening. And why is that happening? It's happening because what Trump has done is withdrawn US support, and that means our influence is less. And we're leaving it to the countries on the ground to fight it out. I think it's a huge mistake. When we went in to help Ukraine survive, we were very successful. And what I had advised at that time is that we maintain the course. In fact, that we increase our support, in that we increase the pressure on Russia, not just the military pressure. Of course, I believe that is important, but also the economic pressure. And since the Iran war in particular, we have eased the economic pressure. So I hope that this sanctions bill goes through Congress. It's one that was championed by a bipartisan group, and now I think it carries Lindsey Graham's name as one of the people who was behind it, but it was bipartisan. And it's a really positive step forward to hold people accountable who are helping to fund the war machine because they're buying Russian oil. But also, there's hundreds of billions of dollars of Russian sovereign assets in Europe. So we could also work with the Europeans and get that money so that we can have the Ukrainians use that money to buy US weapons to defend themselves. And this is another important step in having them have long-term security. And then finally, we need to reinvigorate the peace process. I see after today's meeting, there's discussion of that. I mean, frankly, this should have been going on the whole time. We need to be able to deal with multiple security issues around the world at once. And basically, this whole peace process has stalled while the Iran war has been going on. And in fact, the situation has gotten worse.
Well, Ambassador, that would require, I don't know, a fully staffed State Department.
That's right.
With
100%.
subject matter experts, career people that know what the hell they're doing. And right there, Zelensky's saying it's a good meeting. Some of us have our thoughts on, especially the Joint Patriot missile construction that they're talking about. I think that's Ukraine actually trying to help us out because we're the ones low, not them. That's interesting. But this, what you just laid out for our audience is something that is not being laid out by the administration itself. We have a Captain Caveman foreign policy now, where we just get a club and try to beat something until hopefully something changes. And just like Captain Caveman, we just sit there looking like idiots at the end with a club. So real quick, before we let you go, what about you, specifically you, because you're in a primary, you have multiple Democratic candidates, and I'm sure they have great ideas. But what do you want to say to the voters of the 7th District in Michigan as you're getting ready to have them go to the polls?
Well, thank you, Commander. Thank you very much for having me on. But I just say, what I hear from every voter that I talk to is they want someone who's going to stand up and do the right thing and deliver for our district. And I'm the only one in this race who's actually stood up to Trump, who's publicly spoken out, and who's come back home to do everything possible and fight like hell to serve the people of our community. And also, I bring with me a set of experiences in terms of diplomatic experience, government experience, and contacts, and experience in some of the hardest jobs in the world that I can bring to help fix this broken Washington and actually show results for the people of our district. I want to be held accountable for all of these things that I have laid out that I would like us to achieve, and I'm committed to doing so. And finally, I'm really proud of this coalition of people I have with me, and I've worked really hard to have a coalition of advisors and supporters who are giving me feedback and advice in ways that I think make it a team effort. And that's what I'm used to doing. You don't do anything in government alone, but I've got former governors Granholm and Blanchard, State Senator Sam Singh, Lansing Mayor Andy Shore, State Representative Jennifer Conlon, the teachers, the laborers, Emily's list, and so many more. I have like 70 people and also organizations, and I want to keep growing it because I think this is success for all of us. And having someone like me, I think I can bring to bear not only the will to fight and the proven record of being a fighter, but also the proven record of achievement and accomplishment in really tough situations. And I'm ready to bring all that to serve our district.
Well, look, we're my organization, Veterans for Responsible Leadership. We're one of the proud people that have willingly fast as much as possible endorsed you. And let me be very clear, because people who are watching and listening, it's hard for people who are in public service for their, a career to brag about themselves. They're very humble. She is very humble. There is something to be said about the person that has actually done the work. And in her case, being there, missiles flying, and fighting for Ukraine's right of sovereignty and cajoling Americans back home to support is huge. This is not someone who talks a big game like all these clowns that we have running right now in our international circles. We have someone who's done it under the most extreme conditions, and the state of Michigan, the district, congressional district, would be very, very lucky to have you. But what I appreciate most about you, Ambassador, is you are not settling on your laurels. You're like, I've got to do more. And there is this mindset in Congress right now, this malaise where there's an entitlement sense that blows my mind. You were there in Congress to serve the people, and yet all of these things are happening and they're doing nothing. You've already proven that you'll do it. I hope that the good voters there in the 7th District send you there. And I want it to be a blowout. Run up the score. Just run that clown out of office in November, because this is ridiculous. Our democracy literally is at stake. This is not hyperbole. America has been very blessed to have the right person at the right time in the most crucial moment do the right thing historically. And we need a bunch of them right now to stop this. And you, Ambassador, I think, are right there at the tip of the spear doing it yet again. And I can't thank you enough for it.
Well, Commander, first, you have to call me Bridget. But second, I just want to say you're a person of service. I think our hearts are in exactly the same place. I think our country's at risk, and we need principled people to do whatever they can do to help save us. And I think this is what I can do. I know how much you're doing and have done, and I'm grateful for your support. And if anyone wants to join our team, I'm at bridgetbrink.com.
There it is. I was literally about to ask that. bridgetbrink.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to her website. We got many viewers and listeners who have not heard of you until tonight, and they are blown away. I'm looking at the comments. They are like, wow. So yes, please check her out. Follow her on social media and stay up to date. And hopefully here in a couple of weeks, we can talk to you after you've gone through the primary and get you ready for the general. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ambassador Bridget Brink, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there you have it. The world is going crazy, and we literally have somebody running for Congress that understands all of this, that's been there and done that. I cannot tell you that, you know, we have so many people running for Congress this year that are so much more qualified to be in those seats than the ones that are currently inhabiting it. I mean, from military to from State Department, disabled people who have fought through adversity to get there. And I mean, I can go down the list, but it doesn't matter unless you get out there and support. Okay. I know times are hard. You may not be able to pay or donate, and that's fine. However, you can vote. It is your right to vote. And think about it like this. If your vote wasn't so important, why would they be working so hard to take it away? The SAVE Act and all this, especially women and minorities. They're targeting us. They're targeting you. Do not allow that to happen. Show up in droves. I don't care if ICE is there. I don't care if NICE is there. I don't care if mice are there. Show up. Show up. Fight for your country, fight for your rights, and we will continue to push that. Right there it is. Clashing over canceling August recess to debate, Save America. Basically, Trump wants those guys to come back to Congress to vote in voter restriction. That's what he wants. And for those who don't know what the SAVE Act is and how rough this is going to be, if you do what the GOP, the MAGAverse wants you to do as a woman, you know, get married, take on your husband's name, have kids, do all that stuff, and you have your birth certificate and now you have your marriage certificate, these things don't match, you can't vote. That's part of the provisions in the SAVE Act. So you're talking about literally having your vote removed by doing the classic conservative thing in many people's eyes. That's how diabolical this is. That's how diabolical it is. And trying to intimidate people not to vote because this is their last card to play. They know they're about to get wiped out if people actually show up to vote. They know. So do not. I don't need superheroes. I just need a super amount of heroes, period, that vote. That's what we all need. Vote in your best interest. Continue to push forward. I want to thank all of you watching for your comments tonight, because I was watching them the whole time, and how you guys were talking about your affordability issues, your healthcare issues. These are real things. These are not news stories. These are not headlines. These things are real, and y'all are struggling, but y'all are still engaged. Y'all are still fighting. And to me, that is the most American thing I see, is that despite your own adversity, you push through, you fight. That's what we do as Americans. I don't care what ilk, where you came from. If you're in this country, you had to fight at some point to get where you are. And I appreciate it. So please continue to follow us. I'll be continuing the morning briefings, letting you know some of the stuff that you need to know. But I can't thank you enough. The stories that I saw in the chat tonight really inspire me to keep working on your behalf, on everyone's behalf. We all do what we can. We all do what we can, and we'll be fine. But we just got to keep pushing. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later.